Hey, it's Devon Kerr from LockHart, and you are listening to Talking About Rock.
Okay, today's guests are a new melodic rock A&R band from Canada, fusing synthesizer-fueled 80s arena rock with classic hard rock. LockHart issued their debut EP No Chance in 2022, followed by the single City Pulse in 25. The band is signed with High Roller Records, and their first full-length album, City Pulse, is now ready to be unleashed to the public. Joining us now, let's welcome Devon Kerr from LockHart. Devon, how are you, man?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing really well, man. So, like we were saying, the debut album drops. I think it's July 3rd. And you guys are streaming a single right now, Together as None. Amazing sounds, man. I'm loving this.
Oh,
Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, the album's been in the works for a long time. I think I started writing these songs back in 2014 when I lived in the same place as the Cauldron guitar player, Ian. I showed him these tunes and that I was working on, and he kind of pushed me in the right direction. And, being so close with Ian, I knew Jay pretty well too. And once I showed him the songs, he kind of wanted to get on board with recording them. Fast forward, 8 years later, and finally, got to the studio and made them come to life. So that came with the EP, and a couple of years later, after a long writing process and polishing process, we're ready to release the album.
Yeah, very, very cool. So we talked a little bit about your other members. Talk to us a little bit about, you got Jason on bass, and I think you got Fabio on drums here.
Yeah, exactly. So Fabio he's actually from Italy. He's made his name in bands like Annihilator and Bonfire, and currently he's the touring drummer in the great band Enforcer. He's done a great job. He wrote all of his drum parts. We did not hold Fabio back or put him in a box at all, which I think he appreciated, and maybe he's a little used to in other bands he plays in. People are kind of controlling the production more. This is my assumption. I have no idea, but just based on his reaction to the record and how we literally let him do exactly what he wanted to do.
I find that's a concern for a lot of artists, especially on a debut album, right? So usually whoever's producing and mixing it, they're probably gonna let their thoughts be known, shall we say, and maybe you go with what they offer a little bit more. Who's ever producing it or mixing it a lot of times, you know what I mean? Or if you're lucky, you get someone to work with, that's real flexible and listens to your ideas and understands the vision of what you're trying to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Jay was the one who suggested that we give Fabio a call, because they were buddies before we were, and it was my understanding that he was the best in the biz, and he is amazing. And there's no percussion that I could write that's going to top what he can do. So, I mean, the moral of the story is trust the process, trust the drummer, and the reason the songs sound the way they do on the percussive side has nothing to do with me. It's entirely Fabio's skill and intuition.
Yeah, and a lot of people have been commenting. They're hearing a lot of different, A&R kind of styles or bands represented in here. Maybe a little Journey, a little Boston, a little Foreigner, a little REO. Is that the music you grew up listening to? Was there one of those bands that you would point to that say maybe was more of an influence for you, or is it just this project?
I grew up listening more to heavy metal music, traditional metal. But now I'd say for the last 15 years, I've been very hard rock or AOR orientated. And I mean, my favorite band of all time is Survivor. I think that I've never really listed them as an influence or anything, but I mean, every single Survivor song from their first record all the way to their last record is right here. And there's no way I could say that they haven't influenced my writing or anything. But you got Journey and Boston and all these other classic, rock bands from the 70s and 80s that definitely, inspired the band. We actually used the Rockman pedal in this new record to achieve that classic Boston guitar tone on our leads. So
excellent. Yeah, definitely super recognizable, right? I mean, all those bands we named, right? Journey, Boston, For Ariel. You don't even have to say who it is when one of their songs come on, right? You know that style, you know that singer probably, or who the original singer was, at least. But you hear that in their music, you know it. They've built that niche for their sound, when that A&R was so popular. So obviously the vocalist and the guitar player for the band. Can you say who maybe influences your vocal sound or your guitar sound or anything like that? Who you looked up to, when you were starting out, maybe?
Sure. I would say vocally, at least on this record, I tried to kind of bridge the gap between vocalists like I think it's Darren Warren from the band Dare, or the keyboardist of Thin Lizzy. He has a really soft voice in his own band. I tried to blend that with Dave Bickler from Survivor, who has more of a desperate sounding voice. And I just tried to keep control. So a little different than the EP where I was more belting. I tried to blend those two singers. So someone who's like Darren Warren, pretty tame, and Dave Bickler, who's got that passion in his voice.
Right.
Vocal definitely. Influences, I couldn't, like, from the get-go. There's so many great vocalists out there, and I don't think I sound like anyone in particular, but there's vocalists I wish I sounded like David Coverdale, or
Yeah, amazing. I got to see him perform a couple times. Obviously, he's just recently retired, from Whitesnake, Deep Purple. Amazing career that he had. So many great songs for sure. I wanted to touch a little bit on the songwriting process and kind of maybe walk us through a little bit of your process, because some people have a very structured way of doing it. It always kind of has these certain steps they use, and some people are just totally fly by the seat of their pants. If they have an idea, that's kind of how it works for them. I know that doesn't always work because you don't always get that last minute thing. So, but what works for you?
Well, when it comes to songwriting, I don't know if this is normal, but it's like a project that I'm starting. I know I'm going to write a record, or I'm going to write a song or an EP, and I kind of treat it like, building a garage. You get all the materials in place. It's not an ongoing process. You begin and you finish with the last screw or the last nail. And it's the same with my songwriting process. So I set time out, and I put pen to paper, and I get going. Everything I write is on keyboard. And then, like, guitar parts to vocal parts, all the vocal layers and harmonies, everything's done on a keyboard or a piano first, and then
nice
expands outwards. And I don't know if a lot of rock bands do it that way, because the songwriter is typically the guitar player, or if it's the singer, maybe they play keyboards. But for me, the piano is the most versatile way to compose, because you've got two guitars right here, at the same time.
Right.
And that's basically it. I carve out the songs, the lyrics come last. I at least 99% of the time I might have a song title that I want to work with, but it's all of these songs existed, and then I threw on words that, kind of make it all make sense at the end, because I'm not a poet. I'm a musician.
Right,
So,
right. It's just got to project that feeling, whatever, right? You got to project that feeling to your audience, right, in that music.
yeah, for sure. And each song has some sort of meaning for the most part. There might be a song here or there that, is just kind of fluff when it comes to lyrical content. But the music itself, I think it speaks for itself. But most of our music, or our lyrics, I should say, come from some place or some experience or some feeling.
Excellent, excellent. So obviously you're a guitarist also, and always like to ask guitarists about, what their choice is in maybe effects or amps. Do they like to experiment, or do they have their tone figured out, or maybe they're tone chasing still? You know what I mean? A lot of guys are doing that, and they kind of get stuck in that for a little while. Tell us a little bit about some of your gear and what you go through.
Well, I'm lucky. Okay. I recorded the album at the same studio as the EP, and our engineer, Eric Conway, he should be right there on the album cover with us three, because he had such a huge part to play in this. But I'm a tone chasing kind of person. I like synthesizers. I like the DX7 synthesizer because it's got all the patches that are classic.
Right.
That's why I like that Rockman Boston effects box, because there's no options on that. You plug in and that's the tone you're getting.
Right.
But I used a Stratocaster to record most of the record. Maybe my Jackson guitar, because not every song is the same tuning. But I'm not really picky with gear and amps. I used the amp that was at the studio. It was a Marshall Super Lead, I believe. Classic amp. And it was the right sound. I knew the amp, and I knew that that's exactly what people use. But yeah.
All right, very cool. All right, so what's happening next for you guys? Do we have any shows coming up or dates lined up, or is that kind of still in the pipeline, kind of still figuring that out?
Well, listening to the record, we're going to need more than 3 members. So I've got a guitar player lined up, ready to rock. I've got Fabio. Now, Jason, like I said, he's the busiest guy on the planet. So Fabio right now is replacing Jonas in Enforcer as a fill-in drummer. And we might need to find a Fabio to replace Jason as a fill-in bassist live. So, it's just the nature of, these bands these days. Everyone's got families and things going on.
Yeah, and everybody's in like 2 or 3 bands nowadays, right? What's your other band? Is Axonon or Axion?
It's Action, yeah.
Yeah. So everybody plays in a couple different ones depending on what project's currently going on or what you're recording, right?
Yeah, and that's been going on for ages, but no one's making huge amounts of money doing this. So to take a guy away from his family and his his professional life to go travel across the world and do music is it's a tough ask. So to record is one thing, to write is one thing. So we do want to play live, and we have basically assembled a live band. We need to figure out the live bass scenario, whether it would be Jay or whether we need to find someone, and it won't be hard. We just need to make that decision.
Gotcha. Another thing I like to ask artists nowadays, kind of get their feedback on, obviously, the rise of AI and how it's crept into every portion of our life, and songwriting so much lately. They have apps out there where anyone can put a sentence in an app, or even just a title, right? And it comes out with a whole song and maybe even a video or whatever. You know what I mean? It's gotten to the point where it's a little crazy with that. iTunes announced that they're going to be labeling music if it's AI, if it's artificially created. So I think that's great. But what's your take on this technology, being a musician and especially being a songwriter?
Yeah, I mean, when I hate it, to be perfectly honest, when I hear AI music, I don't know, it doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah, well, there's no emotion, right? There's no emotional connection, right? I mean, there's no,
No,
like you were saying, so a lot of songs are based on real experiences or how you felt or something that happened. There's none of that there.
no, there's none of that there. And I find that people have shown me AI songs as if they're impressed or can you believe this? Non-musicians always.
Right.
And I always feel like a pretentious jerk when I'm like, ugh, this is awful. And clear,
Right.
like I'm listening to it and it's objectively good. All the
Yeah.
notes are right. The timing's perfect. The vocalists are incredible, but I can hear the artifacts in the singing. I can hear that it's not real. And the same goes for AI artwork. And I mean, people want, I like to hope that people want something that's real, like from top to bottom, from the recording, the artwork, the singing, the lyricism, everything. Like,
Yeah.
what's the point in the process if you're just going to cheat your way through it?
The one thing that's a little unnerving to me, and I've seen this with younger audiences and newer music, is they seem to be more acceptable to situations where it's like maybe a backing track, it's not a live situation. I mean, I don't know if that's the majority. I just hear a lot of feedback on that where they're just happy to hear the music and they're not really thinking about what goes into it. But I don't think I think they're missing the boat because the live experience is what this is all about. Live playing, real
Yeah.
instruments, real music, real people. I think they're missing that experience. But I see. I don't know if you can comment on that. If you've seen that type of scenario with newer music, newer younger audiences, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not a fan of backing tracks at all. I don't even like the idea of playing along to a click track live. I'm sure that some people have light shows and there's reasons why they do it, but it's not my goal. And the same goes for artwork again. There's plenty of bands out there that sound so great. They're amazing bands. And then I look at the album cover and I go like, what's going on here? Like it's a digital art and there's nothing wrong with digital art, but to the extreme that there's no, I don't know. It seems like pre-AI, but totally fake. And it just seems like you remember when like Star Wars came out in like 2001 and it was very CGI and
The remake, you mean the remake?
The
remake, yeah, because the original
like,
was 77, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
But
the original was fantastic. It was so much work went into making it look like that, and then people thought that that it would look better if they digitized everything. And
right, because they had to resell it again.
And it's you look back now and you're like, this looks terrible. And I think the same is going to go for album art or music that's just been tuned or. I don't know much about visual art, but whatever they're doing, I mean, I've got posters. I'm in the jam studio right now, and there's some posters on the wall that I never put up here. And I'm not going to single them out, but there's a few of them that I would never want as an album cover in here.
Yeah,
and there's a few of them that are amazing, but
yeah, obviously, I grew up in the time where, album rock was the big thing, and you sat there for hours looking at the album cover, listening to the music, and you're trying to see if that conveyed any meaning or had something deep in the artwork that related to it. A lot of time it did. A lot of time it did. Early Styx albums, say Grand Illusion with their cover, it was very interesting back then. All the Kiss albums were very iconic. For a while when they came out, just to throw some of that stuff out there. And then there was stuff that really didn't, like you didn't understand how it fit together with like Led Zeppelin 4 with the guy carrying the bag of sticks. But iconic album covers, I think unfortunately is gone. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's important for artists to at least seek out some artists that, you know, at least at some point in the process, use a piece of paper and in their hands.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. Well, I really like what you guys are doing here. So, like we are saying, the debut album, City Pulse, out July 3rd. The first single, I believe, Together as None, is streaming now. All right. So very cool. All right, man. So this wraps up this episode of Talk About Rock. Thank you to my guest today, Devon Kerr, and to our audience out there. We hope you're doing your part by keeping the torch alive and supporting live music wherever you are. Devon, again, thank you, man.
Thank you. Have a great night.